Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today we're going to do another one of my series on why fishing reels fail. And I don't know the answer to that question yet, but I'm going to be working on a Tsunami Spear 5000 reel. It was given to me by a fellow that bought a job lot of distributor retailer return kind of things. It has been fished. There's line off of it. It looks relatively new. It's clean. Unfortunately, it's frozen. So this could be as simple as line caught underneath, or it could be much more involved as a broken part. So we're gonna work on this one. We'll show you what this reel is made out of. I think the reel sells for about $30 in the US here. It's a relatively lightweight. I'm guessing this is a plastic case. It feels that way. It doesn't feel like the heaviest of construction. There's a lot of rust. So I'm assuming these are steel screws as opposed to stainless steel screws, and we'll just take a look at it. So these reels serve a purpose. They clearly are for entry level, but you know, if you properly maintain them like you do, like you should with all reels, the chances are that they will do what they're intended to do. And the 5000 reel is a general purpose reel. It's one that can go either deep lakes, river, surf, pier. So it's a good sized reel. It's very versatile. I'm going to take the spool off first. That might be our answer right there. I have broken line underneath here. So let's see. Nope, we're still still frozen. So okay, so I'm going to take that spool off. You'll notice a couple of things while we're doing this exercise. I have a latex glove on my hand to keep oils and that away. I also have a parts tray. Into that parts tray goes everything I take off the reel, so that when I come back to reassemble, I know what that is. Next up, I'm going to remove the click rotor and the shim. And those go in there. And I suspect that there's a schematic available somewhere. I didn't go looking for them, but normally I would suggest go get a schematic for the reels as well. In this case, I don't have it, but again, if this reel's broken up, I'm going to trust my resources that I can remember what I took off and how I took them off. And if I look at my parts tray and find that there's something missing, I'll try and go back and reassemble and figure it out. But so I removed the nut that holds the rotor on. We're going to pull the rotor case off then. There's a little square that just came out of that sits in the rotor case. So the top end of this looks bright. So this does not have an instant anti-reverse, which is typical of the lower priced reels. It has the old serrated rotor underneath, and it has the anti-reverse dog. The anti-reverse dog is held in by a collar and a spring on the eccentric, and it kind of works like as long as the reel is in free play, and again, it's not playing, so it's kind of tough to show you. But as it's spinning, it will hold the reel in, and when you release it, it will push it out just by the kind of the momentum of the spool. And it has a single ball bearing underneath. We're going to pull this assembly off here, just because I'm going to want to check that ball bearing, and maybe the ball bearing is frozen. I wouldn't freeze the reel, but it could be a reason why the reel might be underperforming. This also brings to another point as we go into these things. When you're going to release the case, which is what we're going to do next to get to the main gear, make sure that you take the rotor off, because there may be a screw hiding under there, and that's what's going on in this case. Sometimes you'll notice that there's a line here, so that it's just the bottom that'll come off without that plate. But if you look up and don't see a line and realize that this is a solid piece, then just don't assume that those two screws, and I'll bet you there's one under here under the bump cap, don't assume that those are the only screws that are holding this on and try and pry it off, particularly with these plastic cases, because the problem will be that that plastic will snap. Okay, I'm taking the bump guard off. Sure enough, there's another screw underneath there. And you want to notice a couple of things while you're doing this. That screw inside the bump guard is a different size screw than the screws that are on top here. and also the ones that are underneath the rotor. So you want to lay these out. I like to just lay them right on the board as I'm taking these off. And you want to note the position that these are coming off in, so that when you go to reinstall, you reinstall them properly. Now, the top 3 screws are the same size, so this and this and this is the same size, and that's a shorter one. So what I'm going to do, I just have this little parts tray here. I'm just going to group the 4 of these together. I know I put other screws in there, so I'm just going to put that over to the side there so that we keep that right. We also have to take the handle off to remove the case. That's over tightened. And again, this is what I would call a tuition reel if I picked it up at a flea market or a garage sale or something. It's just one of these things that says, let me learn from this one. And if I can restore it, that's great. It'll become a gift to Boy Scouts or somebody that is going to promote fishing for young people. All right, and what I like to do here, I like to put the button back on the screw. And I noticed already that when I pulled that handle, a piece of the inside of the handle is broken. Interesting. Now I don't know if that's the cause of the issue or if that's the result of somebody trying to crank hard when the reel was frozen. We'll find out. The handle's probably no good, but we'll give that a try a little bit later. We can find, there you go. So the reel is turning now. So the cause of this one happened to be that a handle broke and kind of forced itself to stop there. So let's just take the rest of it off while we've got this thing in parts. See what we have under here. But somehow the handle broke and somebody just kind of just forced something to happen to break it. Again, this was a distributor or a store return, so something went wrong somewhere. And that caused this thing to break. Okay, so underneath here, we know this is a 1-ball bearing reel. We saw that up top. Here's a bushing. This is pretty much typical construction for a reel like this. We may or may not be able to get that out. We were. You got a crosswind block, gear, crosswind block, bushing in the back, a steel or some kind of type of metal pinion gear, a main gear that's also made out of that material. So it's not atypical of small or low-priced reels. Doesn't mean it's not any good. It will serve its purpose, as I mentioned, but you have to take care of these, and that's what I'm doing here. I think we'll be able to get this back, although I have to go find a different handle. And I get questions on that every now and then. Handles are not specific to reels. There's generally a variety of handles that will fit, certainly within the manufacturers, and even cross-manufacturers. There seems to be 2 distinct type of handles that are out there. One is a square shaft, and the other is a pentagon, five-sided. And usually you can find a substitute for the handle. It may not be the same color, may not be the same look, but at the end of the day, it will work. So we're going to put this right back together again then. Snap that in place. I'm going to turn it just to make sure it's turning. It's turning fine. And take some oil for that bearing. I'm going to look at it visibly now. I want to make sure that it's turning, and it is. Okay, so now we can go grab those 4 screws that we had. I'm going to put this back together, and then we'll try that handle. And it may just be that that one broken piece of the handle was jamming it. Certainly, I thought up top there it was the line, and maybe that's what happened here. Maybe what happened was the line got trapped under the spool. Somebody got overzealous and started cranking away like they were going to somehow break that line or free it, or didn't even know what the cause was, but all of a sudden the reel stopped working. And when they did that, they broke a piece of the handle off. So there you go. But we'll have a reel that's functioning, and whether like I said, I may find a handle from a different reel that'll fit it. Like I said, it's not unusual. And actually, if I have to, we'll put the other one, the original handle, back on just to make sure this works. And then we'll stop the video, and I'll go to my pile of handles and see if I can find one to show you that there is an appropriate replacement for it. So About the only thing that's wrong with a white reel is when you get a lot of grease on it. That doesn't look so pretty. But that's the last of the problems with this reel at the moment. Okay, looking for that bump guard now. Put that little set screw in for the bump guard. And again, don't force anything on the way out. Those of you that know me know I have problems with these small. These are steel though, so I have a magnetic tip screwdriver here that should hold it. There we go. I'll take my paper towel there, wipe some of this down, so I don't use a dirty part of it there. Okay. Now we're going to go put the top back on, so we have this little collar. And the collar sits in the groove of that anti-reverse dog. Now I can show you how that works because I can turn the reel. So you'll notice as you go to back pedal, it throws the anti-reverse dog out. And that anti-reverse dog is catching one of those serrated ridges underneath the main. So back on now with the rotor. There's a little square that holds the rotor on. There's a rotor nut, and I noticed when I was taking this off that off is on and on is off. It's a reverse threaded nut. You want to pay attention to that. But this one tightens counterclockwise. Then we can grab the 12mm wrench. There's no set screw in this. There's holes there for the set screw, but there is no set screw, so I'll make sure it's nice and snug. We'll give that a turn. Back on with the click rotor. Back on with the shim washer. It's also going to hold the click rotor down. Now I'm not even going to open up the drags at this point because this is a new reel, or a relatively new reel. There's no reason to believe that the drags are anything but good in this. Tighten that up. Give that a good spin. Alright, let's see what's going on here now. See if this handle will hold or not. It's always something that makes you wonder. Yeah, but we don't need to replace the handle. The handle will hold, even though it lost its that little point there. It's good. There you go. That's the Tsunami TSS 5000, and we've got a problem with the bail as well. There you go. Well, may just be the force that I was using. We'll throw a little bit of oil on there, but the bail is tripping, so a little bit of oil into the seams. We noticed below that it wasn't holding a lot of that. Work it in. Another spin there. Okay, yeah, it's working now. Alrighty, so that's it. So sometimes you get lucky with these project or tuition reels where they actually can be repaired. And this one will be donated. It was given to me because it didn't work. I'll give it on, pass it along, kind of pay it forward, if you will, to some deserving child or organization. And we'll see where that takes us. So with that, I hope you've learned from this one. I did, that somehow a handle broke. But I guess the other message kind of being that some of the stuff like the rusted screws and the lack of an instant anti-reverse bearing as opposed to the older one is what you're going to see in the lower priced reels. Not that it makes much of a difference. These things can be kept for some time, but when you see something break off of a handle, it kind of makes you wonder. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed it. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching. Okay, so I mentioned after I finished buttoning up the reel that we'd go back and see if I could locate a replacement handle. I have. This one's blue, but I don't think that's going to matter to anybody who gets this reel for free. This one happens to be off of a quantum reel. It's not a Tsunami product, but the point being that the shafts were the same. They're both the same of length and in the same of diameter and 5-sided. And the button from the Tsunami actually worked on this one as well. So I just wanted to tell you that if you're out there shopping for a reel needs a handle, don't think you need the handle specific to the brand. And if you locate some reels or some parts of reels, don't be afraid to take them off and see if you can't size it up to make one reel out of two. So that's it. That's the Tsunami Spear 5000 with a replacement handle, fixing the problem. Thanks again for watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.